Welcome back to the Tailosive Tech Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Randy's back. We do listen to the comments. We do read them. We heard you guys. The comments
seems to be very bipolar. We got rid of them. We listened to the comments. We brought it back. We listened to the comments.
50-50. I feel so bad for you.
Pretty split. We listen to every comment. All of them.
You might be able to get rid of me, but I'm never fully dead or gone.
He's never really gone.
He's mostly dead. Not
Which
fully
means he's slightly here.
That's because I'm pretty old.
Ooh.
Oh, well, if it was a competition of who's the youngest on this show, I am sad to say you would probably not win that one.
Oh. But if it's a competition of who's the youngest at heart, I would win every time.
Ooh, this is true.
Who's the oldest person we've had on the whole show?
Renee Ritchie.
Yep, Renee.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, definitely Renee.
Probably
old
was Renee.
Mother.
Whoa! Don't make me censor it so early in the show, Randy. Jeez.
No, it's good to catch it early. Less work to do. I don't know who else you've. Wait. Brian Tong. He's Asian, so he might be 80, and we wouldn't know.
He just looks great. Yeah.
Brian,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
You beautiful little boy.
Oldest.
He's aged very well.
I'm wrong. The oldest person on the show is your dad.
No.
I wonder if Renee's older than my dad.
How old is Renee? This is kind of weird. I feel weird now.
If Renee's that... I mean, your dad looks very... Like, he could have fooled me as like a late 40-something.
Yeah, he is late. Well, I think when you met him, he was in his early 50s.
That's crazy to me. Yeah.
Now
he looks younger.
56. He'll be 57 in June.
Yeah, I would have easily
go.
shaved off a decade and been like, "Yep, I believe that."
So the Apple
you're right.
event,
You're right. Google actually knows this. They have Renee Ritchie's age right.
What?
First.
No way.
There you go.
How old is he?
So your dad's the oldest person, if we're gonna count.
Yes.
So
Renee was born in 72. My dad was born in 64.
So it goes your dad, me, Renee.
Brian Tong.
And then Steve Jobs.
And then Steve Jobs.
He was born the same year as my uncle, which was kind of...
Steve will always be 59, 50...
He wasn't 50. He was 55.
55? Yeah, Steve will always be 55. Because you're holding it wrong.
Interesting.
Because you're holding it wrong. Yeah.
Now, who's the youngest person?
Nick from 2017 when we started this whole shebang.
No, wait a minute. Hang on. I'm trying to think. How old? Wait. So how old is Sam? He's a baby. He's a baby. He's a baby.
I think he's older than I am.
Let's ask Google. Apparently, Google knows how old everyone is.
Sam's a baby. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm just in a box. It's cool. Let's just get into the news.
Don't say he's a baby. I always feel bad when I see people younger than me more successful, because then I'm like, oh, what am I doing with my life?
You need to say confirmed in your, he owned it. He's like,
yeah, more confirmed.
I see you, Marquez. I'm going to say confirmed because you know what? It is.
I'll put confirmed in every title from here on out.
All
it's
of a sudden,
a good way to get
300,000, 400,000, 500,000. Like, wow, Drew. All right,
when
Nick,
I found out Mr. Beast was younger than me, I was like, oh.
Mr. Beast
Beast is younger than you?
As is James Charles.
Okay, well, James Charles is terrible, but...
Nick, you can pull off a good James Charles. You pull off a good one.
What's up, sisters? Today, we're going to talk about makeup application.
You should do a James Charles parody, for a tech video.
You have the hair. You have the face and hair structure.
Thank you.
You just need the rainbow eyeshadow.
Hi, sisters.
All right, I'll do it. It'll be an answering.
Today we are decorating the 12-inch MacBook, which I cannot wait to see, with that retro rainbow Apple logo. Be fantastic.
The memes.
There's this song called Desert Rose, and it has these two singers, and they kind of overlap one another, and they're doing their own different thing, but it still harmonizes like that. And
just like that. It's not like a yodeler.
And that's you and James Charles. Anyway,
me and James Charles, just like that, confirmed.
What I'm trying to say is with the Desert Rose, like it's this flower. It's an analogy. It's something beautiful. in a
It's like poetry.
It's poetry.
So that they rhyme.
There's something
So I'm the beautiful one. James Charles is the desert. Got it.
The flower grows in a place that's kind of dead, and so it's a symbolic symbol that there is
Hope
life.
grows in a dump.
Rebellions are built on hope.
So, iMacs, huh?
I want to know if you guys plan on getting AirPods 3 based on all these leaks.
Ooh,
Heck
Mr.
no!
Erickson bringing the strong
no.
question. That is a good question. That is,
He is actually legit conflicted. Hold up.
It's like AirPods 2 and AirPods Pro had a baby. That's what it looks like.
And that's what I like about them.
What? Oh, wow. Pray tell.
Lest we forget, the suction cup does not do well in my ear. I'm
Mine,
a Sam.
not so much.
Yeah, I'm a Sam in this situation. It doesn't do well for me. I love ANC and transparency.
I'm a Gemini.
What?
I'm a Pisces.
What am I, Randy?
I don't remember.
Okay.
You're a James.
Some lady at a grocery store told me, and I was like, thank you.
She said,
Aquarius?
But by your house, Drew, she goes, ooh, so you're an Aquarius. That means you're exotic and
AirPods Pro don't fit well.
Can we have our groceries, please?
She was like 10:30 at night in the middle of nowhere around Drew's area. It was terrible. Yeah. I'm not going to be getting any new AirPods anytime soon.
Fair enough.
I legit have 2 pairs of AirPods, and I cannot use them both at the same time. So I don't know what I do with the third one. Besides yeeting, I could yeet one pair into the floor. But
You could use each half of one and then do the dual
done that before.
output.
I have done that before when I like trying to
Perfect.
FaceTime and watch a live stream. I did that during the Curiosity landing, Drew. I had one on the mission loops and one with you. But that's almost hard to manage. And I don't have 3 ears. I mean, maybe I could.
So you don't want to replace one of them. You're fine with how they both
I use the AirPods, was this 2 with the wireless charging? Whatever that one was, 2018? 2019? Anyway,
yeah.
I use this one as my complete backup. Like, I rarely use these. These are always at 100% and just there. I use AirPods Pro on the daily, and I think my ears have just adjusted to the tips at this point because...
I think mine have too.
Yeah, at this point, it used to be way back when I first started trying out the Pros, they weren't as comfortable as the regular AirPods. But now, the Pros are more comfortable than the regular AirPods, and the regular AirPods don't fit in my ears. So I'm like, I guess my ears are more flexible than I thought.
So my thing
Interesting.
I realized that these are Gen 1 with the wireless case that we got later. So I've had these since 2018. I have it early 2018. These really die very quickly, and I love the comfort of this. This actually feels like they're not in my ear. This one is snug, and all the additional features work because it's snug, and I like it. But this one feels like I'm not wearing anything. This is a more comfortable fit, and I like the design of the Pros more. So
the stem.
I like the stem. I just like how it feels like a more proper in-ear monitor than something that you're trying to hold on to nostalgic like sentiments with the longer stem.
Yeah.
But for practical use, so the battery's dying on this one, and I would like to have regular AirPods. The Pros, I don't have anything an issue except the suction, and I want to get them because I just want to know, does it make that much of a difference with this? Because they, from what I'm understanding with the design, it will fit in your ear differently, and I can't really take off the suction cup part to sample that accurately. So I just want, I would get them just to see, does it make that much of a difference? If it doesn't, then I would get rid of them, let these die off, and then the Pros would be my one and only. But if they do work, I'm going to gift the Pros. So I would get rid of the Pros altogether and replace it with...
let the past die, kill it if you must.
Yeah.
Those geniuses, they've found a way of making us have to have 2 pairs of AirPods regularly by making the Pros not as comfortable but have active noise cancellation. So we can't have the Swiss Army knife. AirPods Max are off the table for me.
I was going to say, AirPods Max might do the trick for me.
Nope. Not
What if
like
I
agree
sold
with
both pairs of my AirPods and replaced them with one pair of AirPods Max?
You
Ooh.
do that.
You wouldn't have.
I will not, but you do that.
I would probably
I'm
end
with
up buying another
Randy
pair
on-
of regular AirPods.
I'm with Randy on OG AirPods feel like I'm wearing nothing, which is why I still keep these around, and I use them when I go on runs and stuff because it's when
Same.
I'm going to be bouncing
How do
around
you
and I'm not
flex
worried
while
about.
you're running without the not broke pods?
No one's around here. No one can see anything. I run
It's hard
around
to
and they don't
flex
fall out.
when
Whereas
you live in the middle
AirPods
of
Pro,
nowhere.
they fit better than they did on day one when I felt like they were always falling out. Now they fit a bit better, but still, like, especially when I'm talking, I feel like I have to adjust them still. So at this point, there is no Swiss Army knife. It feels like you have to have one or the other. It's like in order to make it fit in your
So
ear
unfortunate.
and you can't feel it. It feels like it's just part of you and you can hear everything around you. You can't have active noise cancellation with that type of design. But if you want active noise cancellation, it has to feel like, you know, a plunger going in. You feel all the rubber in there. It feels stuffed up and you can hear all of your, you know, jaw movements and everything. It feels more like blech. So
ASMR. AirPods ASMR.
I would love to sell my AirPods too to offset the cost, but I very, very intelligently engraved them to say Talos of Tech so that
You fool.
You know, I think that might be a positive.
No. It would have been positive
Someone-
back when Drew was relevant. Now we're just all washed up has-beens.
Ooh.
So maybe if there's a way to scratch this off, I'll get the
No,
Apple
which
Pencil.
I
Just
think
get a key.
You're doing it wrong. That should go in the Taylosive museum that you're building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my museum.
Yeah,
Right.
next to your old Mac or Macintosh, excuse me.
Get the original.
Thinking about
Apple
selling them
Pencil.
to a relative who wouldn't care. Like my mom probably wouldn't care or something. I don't know. She bought my
I had
iPhone
this
10.
image like, my mom wouldn't care. I go, okay, sweetie, I'll just support your cause. Or just she does it out of respect, like Nick laughing
Okay,
at your
sweetie.
jokes.
She buys them and then she just puts them in a drawer.
That's
She
it.
never
She
uses
Still wears
them.
her
She
wired
does
AirPods.
she does it just to make you feel better. She doesn't need them. She doesn't
Sure, I'll
care.
buy
Moms are amazing. Can we get
Yeah,
a shout
my mom
out for all
probably
the
would do
moms?
something like that. Although she still does use the iPhone 10 I sold her way back in 2018.
Wow.
That's because
That's a good
iPhone
phone.
10 is still a timeless design. With that,
She was
beautiful-
using it with light mode on in the middle of the dark last time I saw her, and it was at like
Mother.
50%. And I was just like, Mom, that hurts to watch. Let me help. So I turned on dark mode and I left it on, and I don't think she's touched it since then. So it's
Like auto or just always on dark mode.
I think always on dark mode. I was like,
Okay.
this will save her battery, and she doesn't care, obviously. She's
I
not
like-
going to notice the difference.
I like how we've gone full circle because we started with blacked out backgrounds and only the text would illuminate, and then
You know,
our Lord and Savior Steve Jobs said, "No, I want it to look like a piece of paper." So with the Macintosh and everything's now blown out white, and then we stuck with that. We're like, my eyes, my retinas,
my eyes.
and now my eyes, SpongeBob reference. My leg, and now we gone full circle, and it's all blacked out again, and we all like, yeah, I like this one more.
Some people really like light mode. I've met them.
I
Yeah,
like it.
my
mother
I like
is
the
one of them.
I like the cleanliness of it, but I don't like the practicality of it.
Yeah, my mother
thinking of-
keeps her iPhone 7 at 100% brightness all the time. And she does not have auto lock on. She doesn't like it turning off by itself. And she wonders why her battery health is at 73%. And I'm like,
I'm surprised it's
Mom.
only 73. I
Mike always used his iPhone in light mode. Even Discord, he activated light mode on Discord, and I was like, "Stop!
Wow.
It hurts. I
Wow.
can't take it."
That's
too far.
commitment. That's commitment. That's a lifestyle. that is
That's a lifestyle.
that's a
That's
lifestyle.
a pupil mini mode. You know,
Pupil Mini. Wow.
Yeah.
always looking into the
many
sun.
things I could be very progressive about and understanding and accepting of people's lifestyles. Dad, I like light mode. Get out of my house. That's disgusting. That's unnatural.
You
Get
just send
out.
them to dark mode conversion.
Yeah, you're gonna go to dark mode conversion camp. Get out. Dad,
Oh, no.
I like light mode. Get out.
Oh my
They switch you
gosh.
to dark mode at camp.
It's just the
no.
camp counselor just switches the little switch in settings.
He comes
Well,
back.
dark
really
mode might get
chillaxed.
a lot better soon on the mini LED iPad Pro that could launch this month.
Yes! I'm so so sad I bought a new iPad last year.
No, you're not.
Yeah, not right. I'm totally not. I'm just trying to be excited about something this Apple event. Guys, I'm not excited about anything from this Apple event.
I'm excited about the Apple event, if there is
Oh,
one.
you are?
I know I'm planning on picking up the mini LED variant to review. I'm still not sure if I'm going to keep it, but I'm curious if you guys are planning on getting it to review or if you are just passing it
I hadn't even considered it, honestly.
Fair enough.
I will be picking it up because I'm in the same boat with you, Drew, about I know where you're going with it, where Mr. Answini has refreshed his lineup and it's doing very well.
Don't you have 2 iPad Pros still?
Okay, I gave that one to my sister. I might own it, but I never see it.
Okay,
Technically, yes, but I have not seen that iPad in a month. Visually seen
a
it.
whole 30 days. Ooh.
It's not mine anymore.
That's
visually seen it. He has seen it
I
in
see
the
it
Apple
in my
ID.
iCloud account still.
Yeah.
I see it in Find Mine.
You've seen it there.
Yeah, I think
I know it has battery.
2018 iPad Pro has done wonders for me, and it's still rocking well, but we are year 3 into this now, and picking up to review, just out of a pure display curiosity, I would want to do a compare contrast of it.
Sure, that might be fun.
But there is my hesitance. Even say the iPad Pro I have right now is really dying. My hesitance is that I wouldn't get the same size. I would get the smaller size. I've established that I like the smaller size.
Okay.
But that requires a new keyboard, and that's where I'm like, okay, now I'm hesitant because there's something wrong with this layout I have right now. What's wrong with it is that it's a little older. It's degrading, but it's
doesn't have 5G.
Yeah, that was the feature I've been waiting for. It's going to change my life.
We really needed that.
I really want the battery life on my
And
iPad
LiDAR.
Pro to not be 10 hours. I want it to be 9.
I need LiDAR more than anything.
LiDAR. Go ahead, Randy.
I just love how my iPad does not have I kept it out of it doesn't have LiDAR.
I specifically want an iPad that doesn't have LiDAR.
Yeah.
Can you take it out? I'll take the same camera bump, just
That's right.
without the LiDAR
Just
sensor.
the device. Sir, it's gonna cost. I don't care. No, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. That would actually cost you more. Good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, lovely. I'm voting with my dollar here.
I am literally
Quite
voting with my dollar. My confusion with 5G on the iPad Pro is, are they going to have the little ultra wideband cutout that looks exactly like the Apple Pencil 2 connector? And people are going to start putting the pencil over the modem. Be like,
What
hey,
if they
wait.
had 2? Hear me out, Drew. What if they had 2? Let me grab my iPad because, what if they had one where the current Apple Pencil is, and not only is it an Apple Pencil wireless charger, it's also a 5G antenna. However, the 5G antenna wouldn't work well while the Apple Pencil is stowed.
Oh, that's perfect.
What if they had a second one on the top next to the camera that also magnetically held an Apple Pencil, but also had a 5G sensor in it? So you could store it on the side of the iPad.
No.
Use the 5G antenna from the top.
5G.
Go
That's
ahead.
like 10G right there.
Your first idea was better because then whenever you put the Apple Pencil on, 5G doesn't work and your battery would be better.
And I would never take
I
off
love
the
that.
pencil. Ever. The pencil would
Yeah,
be
I would
the
never
device.
take the pencil off. I would just
You just have a
cancel
second
5G.
Apple Pencil.
Can you do that? Can you connect to?
I no, actually, well, I've tried to connect one Apple Pencil to 2 iPads, not the other way around. I don't know how that works.
I guess that's different.
But one Apple Pencil does not like being connected to 2 iPads. It just wigs
I
out.
like the idea of 5G not working at all. That
Yes.
sounds good.
Me too.
Drew.
That would be kind of fun.
Am I safe to say that you are in the same boat in the sense that if the new iPad Pro is everything and more, that would be your new one, and you retire to 2018 as well?
Yeah, I'd probably sell the 2018 for two major things that I'm looking for in this next iPad. One is some kind of software exclusive. If they announce that it can do Final Cut and nothing else can, then that would win me over to keeping it with the A14X
Sorry,
chip
guys,
and
that's
all
not
that.
happening.
That
I'm
would
gonna say
give
that
you
right
Probably
a
not.
12.9 inch like that. I would never
But
mind.
that would be a hard yes for me, is if I could get Final Cut on that
Very
one and I couldn't
hard.
get it on older ones. I'd be like, yes, thank you, finally.
Very
I'll keep
hard,
it.
yes.
And the other thing that,
It'll
if that
just
doesn't
cost,
happen...
it'll just cost $10 a month, Drew. That's all.
Ugh. Even
want to
then,
talk about it.
like if the second thing, if they don't do the software exclusive thing, would be if just mini LED, because I've technically never seen one in person. I've seen OLED and I've seen liquid retina. Maybe if I
Angry.
see
Apple
mini
Watch is not
LED.
mini-LED. No, that's OLED.
You're OLED.
What's OLED?
Randy was looking at his watch.
I was like,
Oh, that's
gets
OLED.
mad in Apple Watch. I thought this was mini LED technology.
No,
Ooh.
But the display's so
Unfortunately.
small, it has to be mini.
I think mini LED is more of a advanced LCD with individual backlight. That's why it's getting thicker, is because mini LED is kind of chunk, but gives you a lot of OLED benefits without the drawbacks. So
Hey,
if I see it and I
love
notice
thick.
it and I appreciate it and I'm just like, oh my God, this is so like rich in detail, and
It's so
now
bright.
liquid retina looks bad, that might swing me over if I just look at it and have like that 120 hertz moment I had when I first got an iPad Pro, where I was just like 120 hertz, whatever, I don't really care about that. And then I was just going through like the Wi-Fi settings when setting it up, and I was just like, oh my God, this
will
looks so
never-
beautiful. I want it on everything now, and I've wanted it on my iPhone ever since that day 4 years ago. And
You poor
I don't know,
abused
maybe mini
child.
LED looks great.
If you wanted
What?
it for 4 years, you poor abused child. Like I would hate to live your life every day, waking up looking at this terrible inferior display. I'm over here
Oh, yes.
ignorantly bliss. Like, yep, awesome. Or you know who's really bliss about it is Nick. I can't tell the difference. Like you're so fortunate to. What's
You're
it
so
like to
lucky.
see a less spectrum of color in life?
I'm so very happy that I can't
Ignorance
see all
is
these
bliss.
hurts and yurts and furts and lurts and all those dumb things. I don't.
will they call
understand.
it iPad Pro XDR?
Yes, XDR Plus HDR
XDR Atmos.
HD 5G
There's going to be so many
iPad
suffixes.
5G
Safari.
iPad Pro.
5G iPad
they-
Pro XDR Atmos.
If they put,
What if they just call this? Hear me out. What if
The
they just
squeak
call
will.
this the 5th generation iPad Pro, but they spell fifth with just the 5G logo?
Oh, that's a good idea, actually. That lines up pretty well. You got the 5,
That-
you got the G.
oh, that gives me diarrhea.
It's just stupid enough to work.
It's
It just might work.
I don't like that at all because it's so clever. They're not going to.
So would you still get an 11-inch iPad Pro even though it's rumored to not have mini LED?
Me? No.
No,
Okay,
I know you're
iPad
not
I'd
getting
ever
one.
keep-
I'm asking
Yeah.
Randy.
Okay, fine.
No.
Because that's what it sounds like. I haven't heard any reports saying.
It defeats the purpose, and furthereth moreth, especially if there's exclusive softwares and stuff like that. I would want. I don't know. I would need the bigger display to work off
Yeah.
of Final Cut and Logic or Motion or anything else. I mean, even third-party pro apps, if it can run that. If it does something that's like it lets you.
So what situation would you get the 11-inch?
If the soon to be new 11-inch, even if it's not.
Yeah.
If I drop my iPad right now on a concrete,
If he broke his current one.
if I broke my current, I want the smaller one because here's a MacBook like update in my life about my new habits. I don't use the iPad any less. I've just changed its core function for me outside of doing calls like this. It goes with me everywhere for Audible or for YouTube in the background. I do it when I'm sampling, like I'm listening to playbacks of music and stuff like that I'm trying out. It's a pure media device now, with the exception of making FaceTime calls for things like this, or like when I'm doing like group calls and we're playing like video games online and we're all just we make our own little hangout. The other thing outside of video calls would be I'm really heavy into Procreate and Over, and I use that almost exclusively on the iPad now. I don't even touch the phone. So the creative sense of it requires the stylus, but using it as I'm going to check my email. I'm gonna get in social media. I don't split screen anything anymore. It has a single function, so I need the whole display. It's not something that's like I want all these windows up. Where before in the past I would have Messenger up and maybe iMessage, or I would have something that's a text communicator, maybe Discord, anything that's purely text, and there's reading involved, and the other one would be more like playback media, and so I would use it as like, I wish like I would use it like a MacBook. I mean, I would use it as I'm trying to do everything at once. Now it's I'm using you for an intent. So having the smaller iPad makes the portability part better for me, one-handed, because most of the things, with the exception of doing calls like this or having it play in the background in the kitchen, I'm holding the device. I'm drawing. I'm cutting out something. I'm doing something that involves actually holding the device. So having something smaller would just be more of a convenience, and I like the portability factor of it. Completely irrelevant if we're getting these pro applications that I would want to use and need to use the mouse, or not the mouse, but the trackpad and the keyboard. Yeah. So I would want to get a bigger display, to be honest. If they came out with we're introducing a new 13.5, all right, let's do it. I would do whatever I had to do to get that with the mini LED and pro applications. I would double down on it, and for the review period, do everything exclusively on the iPad Pro, just to see what that work function looks like for editing videos and working out of Logic. For long-term longevity, it would become...
Long-term longevity.
Long-term
Good
longevity.
Band name.
I love that. Quick, write that down before somebody steals
Write that down.
Twitter. But yeah, it would become... the iPad Pro would restructure itself to become the top portable device that you would bring with you everywhere you go. Right. Where the Mac, that's where my MacBook Air has been falling into place. But as we've said before, the MacBook Air is a stopgap for me right now. It was never intended to be my end thing. I don't want it to be my portable device. It's convenient right now, and I will use it. But as a portable, I can be on the go and work off of it. But I've always wanted the iPad to have that function. The only part where it's changed is just how I use it for an exclusive something, But.
So for me, it really comes down to the apps. I used to be a long-time LumaFusion user. It's an amazing app, but I've just now gotten used to Final Cut over the past couple months, and I'm not going back. And it's so sad to say that, because it breaks my heart, because I love the fact that I made 2 years worth of content on LumaFusion, and now I am addicted to Final Cut, and I can't go back.
Luma's a great starting point. It's like a great if someone's getting into videos, if someone wants to start.
You can't.
Oh man, and you can get it on a $300 iPad if you need to. That's there has never been a time in history where being able to film and edit your own content and post it has been easier to start out with. And LumaFusion covers all the basics, but once you start taking it
even
more,
a lot of the intermediate things. Seriously, it does. What really has sold me on Final Cut is the audio options. Randy, compressors and limiters and stuff aren't really a thing in LumaFusion. There's some audio things that you can mess with, but it's nice to be able to just edit the entire show in Final Cut with all of the Logic plugins. And that's something that's not available on the iPad, so I'm kind of always at a loss here. I have such a powerful little desktop, little Mac Mini. And then my most portable device, my most powerful portable device, is the iPad Pro, and that doesn't have the software that I want to use with it. Even though it has literally everything else, it has a terabyte of storage, it has beautiful display, beautiful keyboard. Really, at this point, all I use my iPad for is FaceTime calls and thumbnails, and it's super embarrassing to say I have a terabyte iPad Pro 4th generation with LTE and Apple Care and all that jazz for FaceTime and over. But that's what I use it for.
I'm actually surprised I haven't filled the storage up on mine. It's still 64 gigs, and I use it for everything that I don't do at my desk that pertains to work. So Discord, Twitter, email, YouTube. We've watched a lot of YouTube. This is basically like me and Louise's go-to laptop whenever we want to watch something not at the TV. Our stupid house was laid out in a way that the kitchen is separate from the living room, which I despise so much. I'm thinking about just leveling the place and starting over just so we can put the kitchen and the living room in one. Oh, it's so much better that way. But anyway, when we want to watch something in the kitchen or want to watch something in the bedroom, we can just put it on the Magic Keyboard case, and YouTube has the little, skip with the arrow keys now. They finally added the little pause space bar thing. More apps need to support that. I don't know why they don't. But like for everything we do mobile, that's like, I mean, on our phones, we basically just like text, take pictures, Duolingo, and
Do what?
It's a Duolingo. You like learn different languages with this game. Anyway,
Omelette du fromage.
I didn't understand what syllables you were saying there. Duolingo.
What
I was
syllables?
like, what is that? Is this an Apple feature I'm not aware of at Duolingo?
And it's still by far my favorite Apple product, unmatched. And the fact that it is still like nothing else on the market can touch this, and yet it's almost 3 years old, is incredible. Like there's very few Apple products that remain untouched for that long, where typically they come out with something substantially better that makes this version outdated or makes the older version not as
I'm
good.
going to throw a caveat and say one more thing.
Are you throwing up caviar there, Randy?
Series 4
is another
untouched.
example.
2018 was a beautiful year, man.
Sorry, guys. Let me put mine on.
No,
I'm an Apple
shame.
sheep.
Shame.
Well, I would say
Shame.
Series 4 got cheaper with the SE, which is basically just Series 4 reincarnated.
No, because it doesn't have the heart monitor part.
No, but
ECG?
let's be honest.
It has an ECG.
ECG.
How often?
Series 4 has an ECG.
The 4 does. The SE doesn't. That's
The
what he
SE
was
doesn't.
trying to say.
Oh, sorry. It's SE.
I feel like majority of people don't use that anyway.
I've used it exactly once.
There, case in point.
I've used it more than once, but
they haven't released, iPad Pro SE that makes this less.
No.
I mean,
it's called the iPad Air,
which I think is worse in
Two
so many ways.
speakers instead of 4.
I use Face ID way more than I use the ECG, which is what they removed on the Air in favor of Touch ID on the power button. And
That's fair.
Face ID,
That's
I
why
think,
I'm
is more practical on an iPad, and Touch ID would be more practical on the iPhone.
yes,
In
I
a,
would
in a
agree.
world of masks and stuff like that, that technology, put it in the power button, smart, beautiful. Put that on the iPhone. Put Face ID exclusively, not exclusively, but use that as the biometrics for the iPad. It makes way more sense for iPad. I love how and more angles because the sensors are all over. You could have the iPad in any orientation at more angles away from your face, and it would still unlock. Where the iPhone is. No, the iPhone could never do that.
You turn it the wrong way, and it's like, huh?
Who are you?
Who are you? What are you doing? Are you laying in bed? I can't see you.
The future of Face ID was always revealed to me through iPad. No notch. It was all singular.
Yes.
Any orientation. Everything about I fell in love with Face ID because of this iPad, not because of the phone.
Yep.
The phone was like, cool concept. I like it. Touch ID was faster, more convenient. In my opinion, I liked it more. And I really want it now because of the mask situation. But Face ID was it stole my heart on the iPad. It was faster. It was more convenient, more angles. It was cleaner design. Everything about it was like, yeah, this is the future. And that's why I love this iPad so much. And oh my God, I think I just talked myself out of getting the new iPad. Because there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. Exclusive software, I agree with you, Drew. I think that's where it's like I would get the new iPad and keep it for exclusive software. Outside of that, maybe I'll just review it. I just talked myself. Damn it, I talked myself out of it.
And it has nothing to do with the next iPad Pro not being good.
Not a
It's
single
just that
thing.
No.
the old one is so good they can't top it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
They've
Same
been
thing with
trying
the
for
Apple
2
Watch.
years now.
And-
The only device that I would consider picking up in the iPad line right now is the iPad Pro Mini, and I saw one rumor about that a couple weeks ago, and I was
too.
like, yeah, I'd pick that up. But even then, I have way too many Apple devices at the moment. I'm feeling like minimalism, claustrophobic. Like I need to like minimalize stuff. I looked at my desk the other day.
Minimalize my
I have
minimalism.
way too much stuff on here. I need to just clean my life out. So that's a
Less
different
products.
discussion.
Yeah.
That's for the Randy and Nick show.
They need to put more. They need to put Touch ID on the next iPhone, otherwise no one's gonna want the thing. It's gonna be so dry.
Strictly just to move the S year forward, they should do it as a throwaway. The same way they.
I can't think of what else they would use as a selling point to average consumers.
It already does that though.
I mean, Quo has already said that they've scrapped they scrapped the portless idea, so they're doing Lightning for
Nick is
everything this
referring
year.
to unlocking with your Apple Watch with the phone, but
Well, you can do that with
It already does
anything.
that though.
you can do that with anything. I don't know if that's a good
It already
selling
does
point.
that, though.
You know how people were dying to have certain software that for iOS, I think like 13 or 12 as a throwaway. Okay, fine, yeah, we'll just put that in there, and people, yes. I feel like there are certain things that Apple hold on to. We've talked about this. I swear we've talked about this. Certain things Apple holds on to just in the event that, like, all right, it's a throwaway year. We'll put that in there.
Yes.
We'll put that in there.
I believe they're doing that with interactive widgets. I think they.
Widgets? Yes.
Yeah.
Widgets. Touch ID, bringing it back. They could have brought it back. You know, and doing it now it's a throwaway thing. I could see. The Pro applications also being a throwaway thing.
They could change your default browser or your default music player.
Yeah, just a little.
They could throw
conveniences.
something.
We're waiting.
It's on the
to
shelf.
We're waiting to update how we can default the music player for a HomePod, RIP, and they could just throw RIP. We could, and that's a throwaway that they could just do it right now. But they're like, oh, we're holding on to it. Well, they'll wait for 14.5 or whatever. But you could do it at any point, and they're just little throwaway things just to, you know, keep it like it's a smart business thing. It's like, oh, but this new update now you could do this, and now you could. You could release it now, but they choose not to. I see the same thing happening with hardware. They could do certain things, but they might purposely hold off on just so they can have something worthwhile on the slower years. This is going to be a slow year. One, because of the world being the world. Two, because we just went through a design change with the phone. So now, typical function we would get now, little tweaks. Some hardware, mostly software, exclusive. Oh, this can only be done on this phone for whatever reason. Shooting RAW video could be like another throwaway thing.
Raw
video, bokeh videos,
Raw video, no, please. I'm already having a problem with our current iPhone video
They're
settings.
gonna go after
HDR has messed me up. HDR on iPhone has messed me up more than once.
You guys probably feel different about it, but I'm not into the raw photography thing. I don't get that. Like
Nick sold
bringing that to the iPhone, I find it unnecessary.
I agree for the iPhone, it's unnecessary, but Nick did sell me on RAW.
I think the iPhone is maybe they need to just redesign their camera app and maybe have like pro settings somewhere else or something. But like what I like about the iPhone is that I can just like push and hold the button and like we're on a video. You know, I can take a picture, press and hold, take a video. You know, it's very quick and responsive. I can send it to those to family and friends just over iMessage, super simply. When I just click record and hit a video, I don't necessarily always want 4K at 60, right? Or not necessarily don't want HDR or at, you know, whatever the video qualities are. Because when I'm sending, you know, quick funny video to a family member or a friend, it takes a long time for iMessage to send it, takes a long time for them to download it. You know, sometimes iMessage has a problem, and it's just more data than I actually need. But sometimes I do like having the pro features of the iPhone, being able to, you know, record beautiful nighttime videos or, you know, actual pictures that, you know, have good quality in them. I don't know. Their camera app is so simple and beautiful. Everyone knows how to use the iPhone camera app. I don't think anyone on planet Earth couldn't figure out how to use it. It's very simple, very minimal. But it kind of leaves a lot of data collected that doesn't necessarily need to be collected in a lot of circumstances. And as someone who's struggling to keep my digital weight under 2 terabytes on iCloud, I don't need help. I don't need help in that regard.
I love that.
Yeah. I don't think they have it 4K at 60 by default, to be fair.
They don't, no. But like the thing is, I don't know. Maybe I just need to change my settings, but like I always default it to 4K at 30 HDR or whatever. But the problem is I don't actually need that, and most of the time I'm making videos,
ridiculous.
I'm like, yeah. Well, then when I drop something into Final Cut, it's like, excuse me, this is an HDR video. Please convert to an HDR project.
I'm against all HDR until the industry, and Apple's guilty of this too, can figure out a standard to agree on, because they haven't yet. There's like a billion different versions of HDR. My TV was branded as HDR, and now whenever it tries to play HDR content, everything just looks super dark. But it can technically say it's HDR, and I know someone can complain and say, well, Drew, that's because it's not an actual HDR. That's a bad HDR TV. I'm like, that shouldn't exist. I'm annoyed by the existence of there are bad versions of HDR and good versions. And if Apple's not going to be a team player and they're doing different types of HDR support for their Mac versus their iPhone recordings, then don't ship it. Don't advertise it like it's figured out when it's clearly not figured out. So I
agree.
I leave that feature off. I tried it a couple times when I had my Pro Max, but I wasn't that impressed. I didn't think it looked very dynamic,
I think the
as they said.
concept is cool, but I think execution is a bit...
It just feels like the brightness jumps up. That's all I notice. I don't notice like oh wow, that I can see so much more clarity. It just feels like whenever I play that video, the nits go.
That's it. Yeah.
That is part of it, but the other part of it is the difference between the lights and the darks. On like a video histogram in Final Cut, you can pull up your Luma and you can get the highlights and the darks. It's all about having those be expanded, so you get more depth in color in the lights and more depth in color in the darks. That's what HDR is about. You can have more flexibility.
I know what it's for. I just feel like the execution doesn't result in much. I didn't catch that. I didn't notice there being super duper darks in the background. Like it just felt like
if anything,
brightness
Apple's
jumped.
cameras in the past, what I loved about like the chip and its processing and software was that it made it very vibrant, just on regular recordings anyway. And it's my go-to camera over my Sony. 10 out of 10 times when I'm trying to capture landscape photos, anything that's nature, I go out of my way to use the iPhone software to record anything, and even most photos too. There's something about what it does in the processing part where it's like, no, I don't want to have a flat image where I can go in and then make all these adjustments. I like it's the most consistent photo and video that it will take in most environments when it comes to especially outdoor lighting, and you don't have to worry about nothing getting fuzzy, grainy, or out of focus. Everything about it is just, it's beautiful. My best examples were like when I went to Yellowstone and I was able to like, I chose iPhone photos for looking at like old Faithful blowing up and the water everywhere, whereas like I went to the Sony when I was trying to capture wildlife and it's moving quick. Then you need like shutter speeds and all that other stuff that comes into play. But when it just comes to like point and shoots, what they had before, I guess technically what they have now, without HDR, it is one of the best cameras that you could buy in your pocket and have it reliable. You don't have to worry about doing much editing to it, and it just makes it more vibrant. Whereas HDR now, this weird transitionary period that we're going through with like, here's new tech with the displays and this and that. I get what they're trying to do. I understand why they're trying to do it, but you don't need, and maybe that's the problem, is that like, well, nothing's wrong with it, so don't fix it, but they want to keep trying to push things forward. You don't need HDR to give you the same image quality that the iPhones for the past ever that we're shooting, where pros who want to take photos, you fall in two camps, and you're either going to get iPhone Pro whatever, and that like, I want to be able to have these extra settings and you could do this, that. more power to you, do it. Or they're never going to use an iPhone anyway because it doesn't have the same like megapixel, like real pixels that are huge, and you need a kit lens and this, that, and the other. They wouldn't use that stuff anyway. But if I think where I'm going at is that Apple, if they're going to do this, put the R&D into it and actually make a dedicated camera, a real camera. Do that. And
I wish. That'd be amazing.
With AirDrop.
Yes.
Oh.
It would save so much.
I would be all over an Apple camera.
Make a camera, and I won't complain about HDR. I won't complain about RAW. Yep, I'm there.
I'd pay the Apple tax because I know I could avoid like CFast cards and SD card adapters and all that if I knew I could just wirelessly send all the files over. It would save so much time.
Oh, I want Apple to make a camera so bad, and that's from the jaded view of a photographer.
And that's made from Johnny Ive with One Love or whatever. Love from.
They would probably have their own lens mount system.
The Apple camera has one button.
They would design their own separate. It's not any pre-existing lens mount.
They would. No,
there's adapters that you can buy, just like the Lightning to headphone jack thing. It'd be their own proprietary lens.
Those adapters have their own quirks. They probably would have a couple proprietary lenses, but they would definitely be compatible with one of the major, Canon.
Nick, this is Apple we're talking
Nikon,
about.
F-mount.
You know how long we've had Lightning on the iPhone?
Photographers choose between Sony, Nikon, and Canon, not because of the bodies most of the time. It's most of the time their lens collections are much more valuable than the body of the cameras. So if they want to attract real photographers, they gotta pick a standard and stick with it, because I know plenty of photographers who have like tens of thousands of dollars in lenses.
Wouldn't Apple fall in line more with Black Magic?
Think of AirPods Max.
Black Magic and Red.
They could do Micro Four Thirds. Yeah, Blackmagic uses Micro Four Thirds.
I'm just saying Apple has the brand power to say, no, you're going to buy our adapter now because ours is better. We have decided. Like, think the Mac Pro doesn't have an SD card slot, for example, and that's north of $6,000. And the Pro Display XDR only has Type-C. It has no HDMI, no DisplayPort, no other industry standard. But the difference that we're talking about, it's like the Mac Pro not supporting a display that's not the Pro Display XDR. That's what you're comparing here. If this is Mac Pro land, if Apple if Apple camera isn't compatible with a standard lens, whatever standard they want to pick, it's going to be equivalent to having a Mac Pro that only works with a Pro Display XDR. I would say it's equivalent to not being able to charge your iPhone with the included cable with a MacBook.
Well, we already can't do that.
I know. That's my point. That's why I'm saying Apple would be that company. They would be like, we don't care. We know you're going to buy it because we're Apple and we're better. So you're going to buy our new lenses.
I hate
Here's
that.
our new lens
I hate
kit.
That so much.
I know you hate it, but I'm saying that
still buy it.
They're doing Lightning on the Magic Mouse on the bottom, and they're the type of company that would just be like, we want it to be the best. You can imagine Apple making this bright white camera. They're like, we don't want some little Canon 18 to 50 millimeter lens getting snapped on our beautiful, gorgeous design. We want it to have this little perfect click mechanism, and it's going to work. It's going to be like MagSafe. You could just pop the lens on there, and it goes, locks in place, and the gears.
That'd be so cool. No, just think about that.
They make wheels that don't lock.
I would say I see where I get where Nick's coming from about compatibility, and especially if you're coming into a market so late, it would be smart to do that. However, Apple being Apple, I definitely see. I agree with Drew. I think they would. I don't like it, and I think if they were to do it, they would
I don't like
that.
it either.
Why can't you just play nice, Apple? Not everything has to be a resistance force.
Well, think of like AirPods Max and how many things they didn't do that were standards for other $400 headphones. Yeah. And they were like, nah, it's AirPods though. So
I saw last week's episode, and just to throw my 2 cents in.
Oh, you did? I thought I blocked you. You weren't supposed to see that.
You couldn't help. You couldn't even let Drew get through and say, we got it already. But I
wish we could block certain You can't do that. But like if you published an
on
episode
YouTube.
and be like, I don't want this
Just block
person to
Nick.
hear it.
We all have a list of people, and I
Oh
know
yeah,
who'd be on
most
my
of the
list.
audience.
Most of the audience.
Just
Why are you here?
Drew does a tech video and just blocks everyone.
No, I don't want most of you.
Yeah,
But
I'm just.
oh well.
But anyway, to just kind of because we're talking about AirPods Max. If AirPods Max was cheaper, having time to sit on it more, I don't know if that would be my tipping point to get AirPods Max.
Oh, really?
It would help, but I'm not convinced it would win me over
if
either.
they went to 350 and they were competing with the Beats and the Bose and stuff like that, my issue with what there's something wrong with the design as a whole that I struggle with. I won't complain about the audio quality, and I think everything else I will complain about. And for that amazing Pro that makes me love it, for everything else, it just outweighs me wanting to even have it if to even prove a point. Like I don't like the design. I don't like how the cable, like you need to use these all this everything else to make it a wired device, and the whole thing it's not what an audiophile would use or needs, but it is great as an end result product. But then where lies in the problem. For me to work, I couldn't use that. For you guys to enjoy it, it's too overkill. And that is where it's in this weird limbo state where it doesn't fit in either camp. It's a great sounding device, but the wrong things were compromised to make this an end result, or at least to make this the first release. If there was supposed to be a sports version, then I
feel like those would just butcher the sales if there was a sport version.
Sure, yeah.
Everyone would buy that.
Because that would be a little bit. At least it needs to lean into one of the two demographics. Then, if you're just an end user enjoying the media, the content, or however, and you just like it's more comfortable doing it that way. Then you need to lean into that and make that more appealing, whether it's in cost,
sure,
utility. If you're going to lean into the audiophile best sounding, then we need to have a cable included. You need to have one that doesn't it plugs in and it goes. There needs to be more actual functions for an audiophile to utilize it as a production device. In that weird limbo where you're trying to make both people happy, I think
it's like the HomePod all over again.
It's like the HomePod. R.I.P. And
Rest
that's
in
where
all in on sound quality, and then on connectivity, you still target
I'm really
the
sad
average
HomePod
consumer.
got discontinued because in another environment I would have happily bought it just to have the one as like maybe the sub-based version of it while having my little minis around. But even you admit, Drew, that it's not even in use, and yeah.
I'm surprised they discontinued it. I didn't think they would do that this early.
Really?
I thought it just feels weird to me to have a HomePod mini and not a HomePod. Like that's the only variant. Like there's no other.
Well, they discontinued the iMac
Does
Pro.
this mean
so
they
it's kinda weird to
failed?
just have an iMac without the iMac Pro.
I mean, not really, because I mean, iMac Pro is like, to me, it feels like an extension. It feels like you've got your iMac and then you've got the Pro variant, and now they've decided you don't need a Pro variant of the iMac, but to have you got the HomePod and you've got the HomePod Mini, but now there's no HomePod, so why not just call that one HomePod? If now you've got the addition without the origin, essentially.
Because, Drew, they'd have to go to every single billboard that they wrote M-I-N-I in the cool logo font, and they'd have to replace that with just the word HomePod.
True.
And that would be more boring.
I feel like they should have done the Mini first. Like that. Start with that.
I mean,
and then down the road, make a bigger one, call it HomePod Max or HomePod Pro. That would have made a lot more sense to me. But
what was Samsung's called?
The
Samsung
Galaxy
had a HomePod
Home
competitor, right?
Yeah, they never released it.
Yeah, Galaxy Home. Oh, they didn't?
They just unveiled it, but it never shipped.
You're right.
Still to this day.
That was very Rivian. I'm sorry, not Rivian.
No, Rivian's great. You mean Nikola?
Nikola, very Nikola.
I think that was unveiled with the Galaxy Note 8. to give you perspective on how many years. Looked like a barbecue. But yeah, they never came out with that. Now I'm guessing Bixby's going to die any day because they've ditched the Bixby button. So I imagine Bixby uses have gone down substantially. I don't doubt that Bixby's gotten better. Whenever I crap on Bixby, people are like, it's a lot better now. I'm like, yeah, that's great. No one cares. No one wants to use it.
It's a lot better.
They have to go out of their way.
See? No one cares.
If you're on an Android...
Hey, this guy's using Bixby. See? Nobody cares.
Like, if you're on an Android, you're just going to go with Google Assistant anyway, unless you're just like a hardcore.
If you're on an Android, you just get an iPhone.
Yeah, just go back to an. If you're on an iPhone, you're going to want to use Siri or the Google Assistant widget instead.
Yes, the Google Assistant widget.
So that's what
best Siri.
There's no room. It's kind of like the iOS and Android thing. It's like even if there was a great other platform that arose, there's not enough room in the market for a third one. So. That's why Microsoft couldn't get it to work. That's why Samsung won't do Tizen.
Oh, I use Cortana all day.
What do you think is
Cortana.
causing... Is it late adoption that causes these things to fail? Like, what... Do you think HomePod failed because it was late to the game?
No.
No.
It wasn't late. It was just too expensive.
They tried to satisfy both those markets, just as you said, Randy. Mm-hmm. They tried to go after the consumer who doesn't want to deal with any wires or cables, but they also wanted to go after the audiophile who loves good sound. And fundamentally, you can't make a single product to make both of those people completely happy.
No. So
there are too many compromises.
Made a few happy on both sides, but overall you end up with
a they've failed at this home studio speaker thing again.
Oh, I still use my iPod Hi-Fi all the time.
The Hi-Fi.
Beautiful device.
I remember those. I think a friend of mine had one for a while.
Ooh.
It was neat. I had a dream when I was real little that they would put one of those iPod docks into the iMac. Like, you could just connect it to either the dock and it would just plug in there and it would sync and charge. Yeah. I always wanted to be able to just... Because back in those days when I had that dream, you had to sync with your Mac all the time. You couldn't do wireless. I just had an iPod Nano. So I was like, what if we didn't have a cable and I could just drop it right next to the computer and it had a port
while
there?
Drew is dreaming of the future and things that sound practical. I was like dreaming about girls or something. And here it's like, oh, I like your dream way more. I like your dream way more.
That's my reality, Rick.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
What are you trying to say there? What are you trying to say? No. I got time. I'm here. Let's go.
That was not my reality when I had an iPod.
We don't.
Nano.
This is way too far into the show to begin censoring things. Move
that
on.
that was not my reality when I had a Nano.
You're like,
fourth gen.
What you were dreaming about was my reality. I like the idea of because you're right. You had to sync everything down. That actually would have been cool because then even back then, to add on to this mystical dream. Back then, the Mac was the hub. There was no iCloud.
No, there wasn't even Bluetooth back then. You had to sync all your music. If I wanted a new song on my iPod, I had to go to the computer and plug it in and hit synchronize and wait for the little gears and to spin and everything. So I was like, just
times.
Plug in a thing. Now, of course, that would be useless. Be about as useless as AirPower.
This weekend, I found my 7th generation iPod Nano.
Oh, nice!
And this thing works. This thing works with AirPods.
That's right. That was the only Nano with Bluetooth. I remember.
It has Bluetooth. It works with AirPods, and so I currently have my second gen AirPods connected to this, and it's kind of fun. I see why the audiophile people are like, oh, I love listening to music, not distracted. And I was kind of always like, well, that's kind of dumb. Just turn on airplane mode. But like when you leave your phone in a room and you go like listen to music outside on a run or whatever, and you're just not connected, it's kind of nice. And I guess my Apple Watch does that. But I was like, hey, I remember when this thing was cool. And this thing is so sick.
It was the only Nano with lightning as well.
Was it?
There was only...
Lightning? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
The one before that one was the watch-looking one.
You're
and
right.
that had 30 pin.
You're right.
The square Nano had a giant 30 pin connector.
That's beautiful.
So I was...
And this thing is so thin, it's like the thickness of a 3.5 millimeter.
Is that a 2:1 ratio? Aspect ratio?
Honestly, it might be.
I don't think it's that wide.
I don't have any movies loaded on it, but it might be.
I think it was closer to 16:9.
This thing is I like this. I was playing around with it this morning. And I'm like, I
never had
one. To figure out how to use this more.
I came pretty close.
Look how thin it is, though. Like the thing
all
is
the
like
Nanos.
it's impossible.
Of relics.
Even like the
don't tell me
second,
these things. I am a relic.
even if you go back and find the second or third gen Nano, they were like insanely thin. It was crazy.
I have my second gen Nano.
I also have
in my closet.
5th gen Nano, which is a lot bigger and thicker, but it has a camera. Remember this guy?
It was video
This guy had a
only.
camera. Video only
Perfect.
camera. Oh, that
Say
was
no
fun
more.
days.
That's the best.
And it was like
You know, one of these days I'm going to record a podcast just with this video camera.
144p resolution.
Perfect.
And the 5th gen
Actually, I think it
Nano
was
had a
720.
speaker.
It does have a speaker. It's the only Nano to
I
have
think
a
they
speaker.
didn't. They gave up after that because they realized that anyone who listened to
Hey guys,
music.
this is going to be cut into the show. This is video from the iPod
so Nick is
Nano
going to edit the
itself.
show after all, so I can.
As you can see,
I
it's
can
beautiful video footage.
You nasty,
definitely not bad
ugly
at all.
mother.
They should review the
Whoa.
Nano camera on DxO, Mark. That would be great. I want to see what they think.
It's like a
It
2.
needs to be compared next to the eyesight camera on the MacBooks.
I think it's worse. I think it's even worse than that.
Wait. How am I going to get this video off?
You have
this
to plug
iPod,
it in
though?
and import it through
You
Photos.
can't AirDrop it? Oh, gosh.
I've done it
Sounds
before.
painful.
My sister had one, and my buddy Ross still uses his to this day. The 5th gen Nano.
It has games on it. Like this one's surprisingly usable. Like I'm like I see why the iPod Nano line was so popular. Like it was
And that's why they
very
killed
nice. They kill it.
You gotta let it die.
The iPhone will be like this one day. Probably in about 20 years, Drew, Randy, and me will be talking about. Remember when the iPhone SE was cool? And look at the iPhone 12 mini. It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful, and that's why
so
it's gotta
cool.
die. Kind of like
I
this
wonder-
rose in the desert.
This
It's analogy, and it's representing life after death.
I wonder if there's a plan to, because a week ago they discontinued the iMac Pro, which I think was a little bit premature, to be honest. And
You're premature.
then today or yesterday at the time of recording this, they discontinued the HomePod. So does that mean a week from now they're going to discontinue something else?
Yes.
Is the iPod Touch?
They better not.
Is it ready?
No, not the iPod Touch.
The
No!
iPod.
Keep the
the
brand
iPod
alive.
will stick around the same reason they kept Macintosh around after Steve left. It's just a legacy thing at this point.
But at some point they did
They'll
give up.
give it an.
When you're
They'll give it an M1 chip.
plus $1 trillion in market cap, you can afford to keep something around just as a principle. Like, nope, here's that. The product.
the
that changed
HomePod
They
didn't
should
qualify.
stick an M1 chip on the 4-inch iPod Touch. That's what Nick's prediction for the 8th gen and 9th generation iPod Touch is.
They should have
M1
killed
chip.
it 4 years ago.
I'm very surprised they're still
All right,
selling it.
All right, if they're gonna discontinue something,
Where is it on
if
the
they
website?
discontinue
Music.
something next week, they will
Music. iPod Touch,
discontinue.
Wait. I thought, how did they get rid of the HomePod if it's still up there?
It says while supplies
HomePod's
last,
still on
and
the
they made
Apple
an
website.
official statement saying they're not going to make any more. So you can order one, but they're not.
Okay.
They're not planning on restocking it.
Wow,
Fascinating.
Watch
Okay.
that alone takes it to the next year and a half, and it still has supply.
Yeah, I was gonna say
They're already sold out.
the Space Gray says
is
sold out, but I can pick up at nearby Apple store. Actually,
Oh, that's
the
nice.
white one
Best
also
Buy.
says sold out, but I can pick it up at a store. So
The white one says shipping happens. Oh, that's
mine
weird.
says sold out. That's weird.
Wow. They better not get rid of that iPod
You're
Touch.
right, Randy. That'll
That-
probably last them another 2 years. It's like while supplies last, like no one buys it.
That's their way of saying, all right, it's going to be around for 24 months or something.
It's been discontinued,
They're like,
but
there's still 4 in the
is-
back. What are we doing
Before
with them?
Tim Cook retires, like this is his last inventory movement, like control thing that he'll accomplish. Is like, all right, I need to get this blemish off the records, and so while supplies last 2 years later. Yeah, I'm thinking about picking a HomePod. You know, it's still there.
do you think they're going to replace the OG HomePod with something else?
If they do,
Yeah,
I
eventually.
hope it's like we talked earlier. I just hope they lean into one of the two markets. Then don't go down the middle.
My prediction is it'll be a $200. It'll look like HomePod went on a diet, and it's tall, but it's thinner than the original.
It's like one of those JBL
And
pulses from
yeah,
back in the
kind
day.
of like the Mega Boom, and it'll it'll be louder and better sounding than the Mini, but just at a higher price. That's my guess.
And then they can have a HomePod Pro that is all of the beautiful audio engineering that went into the HomePod, plus like Pro I/O. Like you get your DAC back.
I wish they would do that.
Whatever.
I doubt it, but
Get like Randy, you could get like a line in, like a 1/4-inch jack, and you could use it as a monitor.
What if next
kinda
week
cool.
they discontinue the Beats line?
that would be very sudden.
Just like
Because there's a lot of Beats stuff they like just announced too.
While supplies last.
What
and that
if-
too will be around for years.
What if they just cancel the Apple gift cards next week?
They make way too much money off those things. They're pure profit.
That's true.
Yeah.
The amount of gift cards
Apple
that go
TV gets
unused each
canceled.
year.
Apple TV becomes solely a software services thing and no longer hardware.
I would be mad because I was actually trying to watch the Cherry movie that came out on TV Plus.
I want to watch that too. I meant to watch it last night, but I
didn't
forgot.
like it.
I was excited about
but
that one.
I won't spoil it for you. But the stupid
Boil it for me.
He just took all the wind out of my sails, Drew. Jeez.
some
I
people
was
like my
Tom
wife liked
Holland
it.
in a movie?
Louise enjoyed it.
Okay.
But
Maybe Louise and I will be on the same.
I'm kind of weird.
You just rain
Sometimes
on
I'm
his
artsy,
parade.
and sometimes I'm more popcorn movie ish, where I'm just like, come on, you're not saying anything, get over it. But the Apple TV app on Roku is terrible. Like, it feels like they loaded it up with these high resolution, high frame rate animations, and decided to import that on every TV box because, for one, we paused the movie because we were going to go make some dinner real quick. And then when we came back, they closed the movie and went back to like the preview. And when we pressed play, it started at the beginning again. And there's no high-speed scrubbing on the Roku version, which meant that I had to press the right arrow key 10 seconds at a time. I couldn't accelerate. But then at a different part of the movie, it did let us fast forward at like 2x, 3x. And the whole UI is really laggy.
Weird.
And I'm like, I'm sure this runs great.
Sounds like you need an Apple TV with the
Yeah,
remote.
I'm sure this runs great with an A10X chip. But when you're trying to port these titles to third-party televisions, Apple, you can't. Because other apps run great. Like, I've got no problems with Peacock. We can scrub through that fine. I've got no problems with YouTube. And I'm watching 4K. Everything else, Netflix always ran great on there. So that's the only service that like lags out and is choppy, and we've run into buffering issues with, pre-Starlink, and I'm just annoyed with. But now I'm actually curious because I saw that YouTube updated their app to support the Apple TV better, so it's not just a ported over variant of the smart version. So now I'm like, oh man, now I kind of want to try it. I want to see if they fixed it, but I don't have one. So
Does this mean you want to get an Apple TV like device?
Not terribly. I'd be very interested in like a. I don't spend. The thing is, I'm gonna lose TV Plus in a few months unless they extend it again. I'm gonna lose it.
Attitude.
They're going to extend it again.
They've
for
extended it what, 3 times now, or twice?
Yep.
I can't remember. But
No.
They
Yeah,
have a
twice.
documentary called Tiny World, narrated by Paul Rudd, on Apple TV Plus. I want to check
all
that
those
out.
shows are the same.
I've
Is
seen
it
that.
good?
I've seen
Yeah.
I've seen Planet Earth reimagined like 8 different times.
I've
It's just
never
like,
seen
oh.
any of those.
It's always the same thing. It's like, here's this animal, here's what they eat, here's how they mate, and here's how
Morgan
they die.
Freeman talking. We are looking at.
It's like cute things eat other cute things, and then they mate.
If Johnny
and we
Ive narrated any Earth thing,
Oh, that would be great.
I don't care. I don't care if it's
Yes,
rehashed.
yes,
I
please.
will sit there and fall asleep to his voice.
This should be what Love
out of
From
the
does.
Oh my god,
They outsource his voice.
Just voiceovers.
that's
Just
it.
voiceovers.
That
Yo,
would be wonderful.
I kind of think we're kind
the-
of gay for Johnny. We always talk about him, but
Kinda.
like, I just
Kinda? I mean, Randy, have you met me?
Yes, I have.
What's up, sisters? Today
James
we're gonna
Charles's
talk about
long lost
Johnny
older
Ive.
brother.
That'd be a great TV show.
Instead of James Charles, it's Jim's Charlie.
I'm glad we've gotten this far in the show without mentioning AirTags. I'm proud of you.
Oh yes, I forgot
To
about
be
that.
honest, I completely
We need to talk about that.
They exist.
I think AirTags have been around so long, everyone's kind of done with them, and they haven't been unveiled yet.
Yep.
I have
Exactly.
no interest in that at all. There's no point.
I'm more interested in the U1 chip going into more things. Like if they put the U1
Yes.
chip in AirPods 3, I would be really tempted.
I
If you
concur.
could like track
I'd
them
love
down
I concur.
and they encrypted ping other devices.
In each little pod,
Oh, that would be even.
then you'd never lose.
Wow.
That'd be
imagine?
great.
That'd be cool.
Actually,
People lose AirPods all the time.
They do.
So if you could
That'd be
track
nice.
them down, I was even in favor. I remember a few years ago saying like you should just slap a GPS chip in AirPods. I mean they're putting it in the Series 3, which is only like $200. I imagine the GPS chip isn't that expensive.
You need an LTE connection or some kind of data connection to.
You can track GPS without
you do.
LTE.
You can. The device can know where it is, but the device can't tell the internet where it is without internet. So the device would have
No,
to
I just
somehow
mean, like,
get
it-
where it is
it
on
can-
the internet somehow.
Record its location so that next time it's
Yeah.
able to ping another Apple device or something. It could say like
Yeah.
located.
Sure.
Here it is.
Yeah, it would need a way to connect to the internet though.
Great. Do it.
Okay, so
Great.
AirTags is super exciting. I could not be more thrilled to track things like this microphone.
I think we guessed prices
I'm really
already,
worried that it's just
didn't
going
we?
to disappear.
We did.
Oh, no.
I can't remember what I guessed. I'm guessing it's going to be very high. That's my prediction. Higher than what
Because
most people
one
are
of
willing
you,
to
I think
pay.
it was Nick. One of you said it'd be bundled, like a bunch of them.
I remember saying that you wouldn't be able to buy just one. You would have to buy like 2 or 3
And
for
that's why the
$100.
price would be high. Because I'm over here thinking like I'll be like 20 something. Like, I was thinking like for the one, but like no, if you get it bundled, it's gonna be a higher price. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what the. I don't get why it was delayed in the first place, pandemic or not. The people who are gonna buy them already have like a use case of like I always lose my thing. This would help me, so getting to them sooner would just been a convenience. People who are on the fence, probably like someone like me, I have no interest. It's not. But like you said, Drew, I'm more interested in putting the
What about
U1 chip in
Kika?
more things. She's chipped.
Ooh.
Oh, never mind.
Well, but you could AirTag ship her and not have to wait for
But the thing is,
pound
Kika
to-
Like on the skull.
Kika doesn't leave my side. Where the hell is she?
Doesn't leave my side. Wait a minute.
She doesn't go far.
Don't you want to be able to connect your dog to your phone with the W1 chip?
At this point, she's just going to be my guinea pig about Neuralink and everything else. I want to know what.
Like the little white menu jumps up and it's just a picture of Kika. It's like connect, not your Kika. It's
it should be doing all the same weird noises and doing all these.
and
the
then, like, little
animation
scratches
pops
in the
up. She's
carpet.
scratching.
You know,
yeah.
Oh my!
the
every time.
animation. The animation they use in the Tesla for dog mode is like
The
those,
balloon.
I
Yeah.
would
like
do that.
like balloon animals. Yeah, that's
I
that's the
would
icon we
do
need for
that
Kika.
only if it meant like if it had a little Kika. If only if that meant like some record of preserving that. Because I said a very morbid thought the other night. I was like, I come home and doing the whole thing. It's like yes, I get it. Then I pause and I look at my friend. I go, one day I'm not going to hear this. Come here, make all the
Ooh.
noises. So then I hold her,
Make
make all the noises. So if I can have an AirTag that just, you know,
That sounds creepy.
Was that,
That
a
was a
Wednesday
Wednesday.
squeak? I couldn't hear that. That was so high.
So anyway, this rose in the desert, right? It's an analogy about how something beautiful can be, saved, and that you lust for it.
Randy, you should write a song about this.
It's
and
called
stop
Desert
talking about it.
Rose. Stingray.
I like how within a
Oh,
matter
man.
of 20 seconds at the beginning of this show, Randy was making these like art comparisons. Nick was making Star Wars references, and I was making Office references. It was like the perfect
This is just a train wreck.
perfect
It's just a
triangle
train
of all
wreck.
our fandoms put together.
So anyway, that's why AirPower's dead.
I wouldn't even want it now
That's why.
with MagSafe Duo and everything.
Oh,
like,
question for both of you guys with your MagSafe Duos. I want to revisit with the Fold and everything like that. Long term, is it worth the purchase? Now, I was letting you guys be my guinea pig.
I've folded it about 10 times in its entire life. I'm so petrified to fold that thing because someone on the internet said it's only designed to fold like 200 or 400.
It must be true. It's on the internet.
It's not that low.
Every time I fold it, it's like...
I don't think it's that low.
Right,
I've
Drew,
folded
your
it
thoughts.
myself probably 500 times. I know it's expensive, but I would argue mainly for the portability factor. If you plan on traveling a lot and needing to pack your chargers, that's where its use case is best. Because I know that there's like these Belkin 3-in-1s that are cheaper that people are like, oh, this is much better because it'll charge your AirPods and MagSafe support and all that. That's good if it's just going to stay on your nightstand like forever. But the situation I kept running into is we just got off work, but we need to hit the road real quick. So we need to be able to pack very quickly. That's where MagSafe Duo is awesome because I have not found or seen a single charger that you can do the watch and the phone with MagSafe and everything, one cable, and you can fit it in your pocket. Like, I haven't seen any other charger that can do that, which is why I would say expensive, yes, but overpriced. Probably, but not much.
Boy, I'm sold. Expensive, yes. Overpriced, yes.
Probably.
Overpriced is a term I'm touchy
Also,
with because to me it means you could get something that does the same for cheaper. And there probably is a few that 2-in-1 chargers that'll do something for cheaper, but I feel like they won't be as portable. And just when we needed to hit the road real quickly, it was the easiest thing ever to just be like, let's go. And that was it.
So you folded about 100 times, you said, or 500 times, whether you're exaggerating or not.
Don't worry about the fragility.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has the degradation of that elasticity.
I mean, you'll notice some. It's not a display. It's different if I'm staring at it all day, every day. If that develops a crease, yeah, I get it. That's a bigger problem. But when it's a charger that you interact with once or twice
a day, it's not the crease I'm worried about. I guess it's the stability of that material. Like, does it become less efficient? Like, because there's wires, I would assume that's connecting the whole thing through.
Having flopped it around a lot, I would say don't worry about it. Okay. I'd say it might show a more prominent crease after a few years, but I still think it'll functionally charge.
The crease
everything
is
fine.
The least of my. Its functionality is my only concern. I don't care if it creases.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
I mean, if we hear that people start running into that issue, I'll rescind my recommendation. But I would still say, yeah, I'm very happy I bought it. Use it every night. It cleans up my nightstand amazingly. In fact, I'm tempted to get a second one so that Louise doesn't have two different bricks. Right now, she has an Apple Watch charge stand, the $80 one that I bought way back when, and she has a Lightning charge for the SE. So, because I have MagSafe on my desk here, so that's where the other MagSafe is. So, I'm tempted, but it's so pricey that it's hard to justify. Just because our nightstand would look so much cleaner if it was just two MagSafe Duos and we could just both charge 2 wires for 4 devices.
Yeah.
And the sound it makes every night is super satisfying. And yeah, I like it. I'm still glad I got it, but
cool.
Would that's the Apple sheep side of me. Would I recommend my mother buy it? No, not really. She doesn't have an Apple Watch for one, but that's part of the problem.
That would be a good reason, not to buy MagSafe
It's a
Duo.
very Apple sheep product, kind of like the original HomePod. I was like, most people should not buy this. But if you're really, really into Apple Music and you really like your ecosystem, original HomePod's pretty solid, but still pretty expensive at the same time. So
Rest in peace.
We'll miss you. As you're available for pickup.
Not a lot. I screamed at you for about an hour when I was trying to set you up that one time, and I returned to you the next day. But
I want to give massive credit to the HomePod when switching over Wi-Fi networks to Starlink. Every single smart speaker in the house needed to be factory reset. Every single smart security camera we use, you couldn't go into settings and just say switch Wi-Fi network. they would make it look easy. They were like, change Wi-Fi network, and you tap it, and it would say, insert paperclip to factory reset. You'd have to go through the entire setup process again, and Google Homes now have to go through like a 18-page setup process to get it. We're like, oh, do you want to sign up for this? Do you want to sign up? Would you like to use this? And now I found out you can adjust the sensitivity of the Hello Google thing. I didn't know you could do that before, but either way, I had to set up so many devices. It took me like a couple hours to switch everything over to Starlink, and yet on the HomePod, I was in the Home app, and the HomePod said, on a different Wi-Fi network, would you like to switch to the network your iPhone is connected to? And I said, yes, and it switched over. It was great. It was fantastic. So I was like, nice. I almost never use you, but that was awesome.
It
just works. I'm very tempted to just sell my OG HomePod for a HomePod Mini, just so it's newer.
Ooh, and you get another display that's just so beautiful and gorgeous and compact, and you get to hold, what did I call it? Holding a Tesseract. You can hold the Tesseract.
Sonic supple.
And I'll tell you, having
bliss.
it in multiple rooms,
supple bliss.
Even though it's all open floor kind of downstairs, but multiple rooms and having that stereo. Playing books, I don't like listening to Audible in any other way besides it throughout my whole house as I'm just getting chores done. It's the clarity. I can only imagine. The reason where I was like, I kind of
voice right in your eardrums. You get Barack Obama's voice right in your eardrums. It's beautiful. You were listening to what was his latest
Promised
book?
Land.
When I was out there, and it was just like,
yeah, Promised Land. Oh yeah,
it was so pretty.
Obama,
I don't know. He was like right up on the
very,
mic, and it was beautiful.
Like read up. Like he's good at like, well, you know, and then you do.
Yep.
It's just very. He's.
Yeah, thanks, Marquez.
I finished that book, and now even just listening to other, just in general, like podcasts would be applicable of using them for the HomePod Minis as well. Anything that's voice narrated, just feel fuller and
Fooler
in a very passive.
What is all this tomfoolery?
It's just a more clear. No, I'm gonna say fuller. Screw you guys. I'm sticking with that word. It's a fuller experience when as a passive experience while you're trying to get stuff done around the house.
It is more full.
I'm gonna fight you right here, right now.
Have at it, Randy. I'm ready. I get my boxing gloves here.
It should be an activity workout
on
the watch. Boxing.
That we could do Apple Fitness Plus
MMA.
They just have two trainers come out and start punching. But they're happy the whole time.
It's PC guy with and in the left corner at 21 megahertz. It's PC.
I want to see a boxing match, but the heart rate is in the corner.
Hold on. So I want to finish my thought because Drew, I recommend you getting the trading in for the HomePod Minis. I kind of the audio guy in me is like, I really wish I had a regular HomePod because I bet that would sound amazing loud. But the
Let's
volumes,
switch. I'm down.
Yeah, the volumes of the Minis,
Ooh.
They're not an issue at all. Remembering how I hear how loud and clear the HomePod is, getting that for two Minis, I think it's a better experience, and I think you would like that, especially because you're not listening for certain frequencies. Like, ooh, that sounds. I think it's a way better experience, and I would recommend just for getting newer tech anyway, and having maybe more than one device that's more practical throughout the house, whether it's in your kitchen, your office, wherever. I think you personally would find more use out of it than your current HomePod setup. Yeah,
I agree. Alrighty, should we wrap up? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, I could go for another hour.
Yes.
So anyway, this rose
I really want
in
to
the
talk
desert.
about AirTags some more. AirTags.
That's great. I didn't think of that, Nick.
That's it. That's all the news.
That's
what Tim Cook's going to do. He's going to get up on stage and he's going to be like...
Tim Cook and Craig are going to come out and be like, AirTags. 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 That's it. That's the whole ad.
I love it.
I would love that. I hope they do
I love it.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Take care.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Hopefully
See you
we
next
got
week.
an announcement. Bye.